Hello, guys. Oh my gosh, Kat, you are crazy. Thank you so much for subbing with your Prime. I appreciate it. I was trying to look for like copyright-free music because my VODs keep getting muted. I just want to listen to music while I play, but I don't know what's copyrighted and not. But yeah, I'm just gonna be using my PNG tuber today because this was so last minute and I look like okay, like I had a shower and everything, but I couldn't bother to do makeup, so yeah. I made this PNG tuber for a reason, so let's just use it. But hi everybody, thank you for redeeming your gold coins as well. This is my first time, this is your first time you've seen the PNG tuber. Also, basically everything is copyrighted, that is so true. But we got an ad, guys. We got an ad. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I literally don't know how to even pause them. I'm actually still very much a noob at streaming, guys. Please bear with. Make sure your music isn't checked on your VOD track. That's why it's remuted. How do I check that though? Okay. Do you use OBS? I do use OBS. Is there like a setting on OBS? So everything comes through my headphones, so has it been a minute? I think it's been a minute. Are the ads over? I have no idea how to check, guys. What the heck? What the heck? There's a really easy search on YouTube. I'll have to type too much. Okay, okay, okay. I'll look on YouTube. Thank you, thank you. That's fine. I think I found like this random playlist though for today. So, you know, if they play like songs that are weird, then just know it's not my playlist. What am I doing? Oh, okay. But yeah, okay, let's just get into it then. I don't know if you guys can read the I'll just make it bigger actually while I talk about it. This thing. I'm having a TikTok live special on Thursday because we hit 700 followers on TikTok. And that was my April goal for the month, and we hit it like so quickly. I was very happy, and I was very like, after coming back from my break, it was such a nice surprise to see that I had hit my goal. So here are some of the incentives that I have going on. Even if you can't contribute with like gifting or whatever, just being there, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna try out a bunch of challenges. We're gonna play a bunch of games. I even bought some horror games for me to go through so that you guys can see me get absolutely scared. But I will be starting that stream with my PNG tuber because I don't know if it's because of the amount of hate I've been getting recently. I just don't want to like show my face that much. But when we get 5 members on my team on TikTok, then I will put my camera on. You'll be there for it? Yay, thank you! Oh, it's gonna be so fun. I'm very excited about it. I think the break was good for me because I've been quite motivated to stream recently. Like today I wasn't even scheduled to stream, but I was like, I'll stream anyways. But yeah, so this is some of the stuff. I mean, I put some like some what's it like specific to certain games, but I don't even know if I'll have time to play all the games. I should be there for some. Okay, okay, it does start at like 7 p.m. So hopefully you can see some. Because it'll be fun. People's opinions are a reflection to her. I wouldn't pay attention to it. I try my best. It just, I don't want to get hate while I'm mid streaming, and I'm scared. um, but I'm slowly easing back into it, and like, as I said, I made this PNG tuber, so I might as well use it when I can, and stuff like this when it's like a last minute stream as well. Most session in my stream, I don't care, bro. I know that a lot of you would have my back if someone did try and like say mean stuff to me during my streams. So, yeah. You would chop them up. I know you would. But today we're just gonna do some Disney Dreamlight Valley because I fancied playing it. Last stream on Sunday, I think we had quite a successful stream, and I just felt like it was a calm thing. You're trying to remember why you followed me? I honestly don't remember which stream you followed me with for, but I did have a phase a while ago where I played Valorant, so maybe you play Valorant. And then you scroll down. Scroll down where? Scroll down my page? You followed since the 21st of April. That was Sunday. Disney Dreamlight Valley. I want to know what this Disney game is about. I keep seeing it. Oh my god, I lost where the message was now. What's going on? Oh my gosh, hello, hello. I lost what I was reading. I want to know what this Disney game is about. I keep seeing it everywhere. Oh yeah, it's really fun. I'm actually addicted to it right now. What have you been doing on DDV so far? Because I haven't seen any updates. Really? I was just doing the Ursula quest because I bought the bundle. Oh my gosh, Lib! Hi, Lib! Pookie! Pookie's unite! I don't know why the auto mod, doesn't like the word Pookie. That's very weird. Yeah. Well, welcome. We're gonna just be doing, I don't know what the plan is for today in this game. I'm gonna just vibe. I'm gonna do some, try to do some quests. I'm actually so bad at fulfilling the quests. It took me so long to do one quest, and all I had to do was look for clams, and they're like the easiest thing to see on the beach, but they just weren't spawning for me when I needed them. But it's a lot of fun and a lot of customization, and like you can decorate a lot of things, and there's so many different characters you can meet. I really like Disney. Like, it's so crazy. It's like the way I visualize it is like I'm in this valley, like myself, and I'm actually hanging out with the characters, which is just so cool to me. It's like your own little Disneyland on Disney World. And I get like so hyped when I like unlock characters that I really like. For example, when I got Mirabelle from Encanto, oh my gosh, I was so happy. I was actually so happy. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you for using your Prime on me. Everyone is today. Yeah, there must be something in the air. Oh, is it Riz? Is it really Riz to sub? You know we have Prime, Alice. I think our dad uses Prime to sub to my streams when he remembers. Riz, I know. I don't know if that really counts as Riz. Plus, I'm not available for being rizzed up, guys. Yeah, I think he is using it. No rizzing up the Kimmy. Yeah, I don't think that's very appropriate. Your husband is in the corner shaking his head somewhere. For real. If he knew. But yeah, I'm gonna like play this non-copyright music playlist that I found. Don't know what songs are in there. The first song that played was some Coldplay, and I mean Coldplay's great, but it just gives me a bit of trauma. So, you know, don't know if I'm gonna enjoy the playlist or not, but it's non-copyright. I think. Is Coldplay non-copyright? Or am I being lied to? Anyway, I doubt it will matter because after this I'm gonna watch that YouTube video and figure out how to like, what's it called? Take it off my VODs. I don't want my VODs to get, like, because when I put them on YouTube as well, they just get friggin' muted. Copyright. Oh, see, I've been lied to. I've actually been lied to. I need to find another playlist. Does anyone have a playlist that's not copyright? Or should I just play my own music? Play my own music at this point. It's stressing me out. Stressing me out. No copyright sounds on YouTube. Then they'll play like music I don't wanna hear. Okay. Actually, they have like, I'm just gonna type this in while this is loading up. No copyright. I want like chill no copyright, not like some electronic music. I don't know what these songs are, guys. They might not fit the vibe. Lo-fi. Okay, sure. Can we hear that? Is that calming? How? How do I do that? No, I need to figure out, like, after this. It's fine. We'll vibe with this. Anyways, I'm going to just, like... Of course it's raining for one, because it always rains in my game for some reason. I will figure it out. I will. But I just don't know right now, so I don't want to, like... fiddle with it right now. I just want to play. But I'm just gonna like collect a bunch of things that have like spawned in from today and then do some of the quests. I'm gonna like, this is what I normally do. I log in, I just collect a bunch of stuff that's like spawned in for the day in each biome, and then I go and like what's it called, sell it, and then I get money. So yeah, Cat, this is the game. And I'm gonna... These are all the characters that I have so far. You can see them like on the map, like where they are. And there's quite a lot of land that you can unlock. I've unlocked... I unlocked 3 places of the 6 places you can unlock. You come... When you like first get it, you get this area and the meadow. Your Queen Ursa... Oh my god, you love Ursa too. I literally... There's this shop and you can get like bundles, and I got this one so that I could transform her into Vanessa, because then she can walk on land for one, but then also like she just looks prettier that way. No, there she is. Look at her. She just sat there with her mirror out. Of course we're gonna hang out with her because I'm trying to level her up. Let's hang out because I want her to like, what's it called, be level 10. So then I can get her dress. Oh, I didn't mean to press that. Let's just untrack this quest for the moment so we don't have to feel stressed about doing it. I'm just going to collect like a bunch of stuff that's spawned in, and then I'll sell it, and then I will go to the shop and see if there's anything worth my money. Most of the time there's nothing really like worth the money, but I still buy it because it's cute or it's funny. Like, tell me why I have 3 of these bags. And they're all the same, just in different colors. Is Remy actually small in the game? Yes, he is. I literally can never tell where he is. Like, I wouldn't know where he was. Okay, he's in his house. Okay, that's kind of helpful in a way. Wazowski drip, for real. Look at him! He's so small. I generally, like, get jump scared by him sometimes because he'll just, like, be next to me and start yapping. I'll be like, when did you get there? Like, how? But, like, yeah. Don't know how he reaches the top books of this shelf. Yeah, he's tiny. Is this his house? I don't think I've actually been in his house much. Of course, he's got a whole ass kitchen going on here. But yeah. And then this is like his restaurant. I thought about putting his house like next to the restaurant. It makes sense. He always complains about how the valley's not like Paris though. And like, I'm sorry, Remy. Don't live here then if it's not up to your liking. But when we got Remy, it was actually a really fun quest to do. I get to do like a bunch of like cooking and stuff. And I thought it was quite cool. It's Remy, he probably teleports, all we know. Right, that's so true. I wouldn't even know. But yeah, this is the restaurant. You can do like cooking here, and you can buy like some of the ingredients that you can't necessarily like farm. Yeah, I'm just gonna collect like oh, I didn't mean to go in here, sorry. What I like to do is go through each biome and just collect all the stuff I can until my inventory gets full. And then I go and sell everything. And I know like lots of people would telling me like beginner tips, like not to just sell everything. But it's actually become a habit. I don't sell everything per se. Like I have a lot in my inventory back at my house. But I sell a good amount of it every time I log in. Which might be the wrong thing to do, but it works for me. And if it means I have to take longer with doing quests, I don't really mind because I didn't spend so much money on this game just to finish it really quickly. Or like finish the quest really quickly, you know? Like, we have a good time. What I do hate though is when I accidentally sell like a stack of stuff that I've been saving. I have done that way too many times and you can't get it back. So just be careful about that. Also, question real quick. The mic you're using, is it the one in your collabs link? Yes, yes it is. It's the Fifine mic. Does it sound okay? I actually don't even know how it sounds. But yeah, the Fifine mic on my links. You can get it on Amazon. It sounds great. I'm gonna buy it right now. Oh my gosh! That's crazy. Are you gonna use my link as well? I think you're gonna be like one of the first people to use my link. It should be the one that's like under use my mic. Hopefully it's in stock. I haven't actually checked. I feel like I should stay on top of that. But when I had my break, I kind of like fell behind a bit. Oh my gosh, hi Assertive. Hello. Yes, you clicked the link. Yay, perfect. Sounds good. Guys, we're 1 level off of getting this dress. I'm literally just... I don't even... Hi, TJ. You're at work? Okay, that's fine. Thank you, thank you. I don't know if she can hear, so I'll just send a little heart back. Okay. Oh. We're so close to getting that dress. That's all I really want from us. Or Vanessa. But I know, like, I was talking to Sydney and she was saying, like, that she doesn't like Ursula because she's like this when she's in her other form. Obviously, she looks like the sea witch. Wait. Oh god, this is gonna be ugly. Oh, thank you. I hope it worked. I will check it after the stream. I don't know if it'll come through because I think it comes through like monthly, but I'll definitely check it. And thank you so much for using my link. I appreciate it so much. That's so cool. Alright, why is this so much effort just to show you Ursula? It's like, she's not even worth that much. Are you gonna use the mic to stream as well for your streams? I mean, probably, obviously. But yeah, guys, look how... I don't even want to say anything, guys. And she can't even hang out with you. Like, I wouldn't have even been able to level her up if I had her in this form. Yes, I am just buying little bits before I buy my PC. Oh my gosh, are you having like a whole setup, like, glow up going on? Ursa's slaying so hard. I prefer her as Vanessa. Look how pretty she is. Bank is crying. Yes, setup is gonna be fully new. Oh, I love that. I love that for real. I would get a PC if I had the space to, but I'm living in like a uni accommodation. So I don't really have the space or the mobility, but that sounds so cool. Are you gonna build your PC or are you just gonna buy a pre-made PC? Because I want to build one, but then I'm like, I don't know if I could build a PC, guys. Like, I'd probably definitely do it wrong. Hello, can I talk to you, please? I want to hang out.
Oh, it's you. Fabulous.
Yeah, let's hang out.
Yes.
I'm going to build it with my beer. I'm praying I don't break nothing very cost. What? 1K altogether? Oh my gosh. Does your BF know how to build PCs? Because, like, my boyfriend also wants to build a PC, but then we both don't really know how to build PCs. We don't trust ourselves to, like, do it properly. We both have never built a PC, but my BF rambles about it a lot as he watches building videos. Okay, well, at least he's watched some videos and has, like, a slight idea about what needs to be done. I'm sure, like, if you follow a step-by-step, it won't be that difficult, right? I wish you guys the best. Oh! I've watched 2 videos and I'm a pro now. I cannot sit through anymore. I don't have the attention span. No, I get that. I can't really sit and watch stuff unless I'm doing something else while watching. And then I don't really retain what I'm watching, so it's like, why did I even watch it? But yeah, I get you. Oh, okay, guys, we're full inventory, which means it's time to sell. Hi, mathematics. My worst nightmare. I hate maths, guys. I'm sorry. I just suck at it. No one. Me. Disneyland is a human trap created by a mouse. Damn.
How's it going?
When I built it all, I'll do a TikTok setup review. Also gonna buy that keyboard with the little screen on it. That's cute! Hi, how am I? I am doing okay. I'm just chilling. How are you? Welcome in. See, you know all these flowers, right, guys? I don't really think I need that many. Like, I don't think I need to save those. Like, I could just sell them. But I'm gonna keep the stone because I found out I can build my own stuff. Everything is, like, super awesome. That's really good to hear. Okay. I'm keeping these things. I don't know if I need them. I don't... But I found I could do, like, crafting and I can craft my own chests. Yes, I was a dumbass and I just kept buying chests and thought that that's how you make your storage room. But I was wrong. You can make your own chests and make your own storage room like that. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? I mean, it makes sense. Like, I don't know. I've seen people with, like, so many chests. I don't know why I thought they bought all of those chests. Seems a bit like a scam, if that was the case. Like, how much money would you have to spend to buy that many chests? Like, not real money, like, in-game currency, but still, the grind would go crazy, like, to get that much money. Oh! I hate this. I always accidentally click on somebody I'm not meant to click on. I'm trying to pick up stuff, not talk to you. I don't really know what quests I have today. I think I need to learn how to make sushi and rice. Actually, no, I'm currently growing rice, so I can do that quest after I finish this. Honestly, this game looks peaceful. I might try it. Oh, yes! Do try it. It is so fun. And like, it's very peaceful, actually. You can just vibe, listen to music, go running around. Thanks for being nice to you, of course. I'm always nice to everyone that is nice to me. If you're not nice to me, then I can't promise I'll be nice to you. Hogwarts Mystery. I think I've heard of that before. But I don't have storage on my phone, so unfortunately I cannot play that game on my phone. I can't play any game on my phone, actually. Is my rice done yet? It's not. How long does it take to make rice, guys? My phone storage is full because of my cat selfies. I love that. If I had a cat, I'd also have cat selfies. But instead, actually, I have like some dog selfies. You're a massive nerd. That is completely fine. I feel like we all can be. Like, I could be like, I'm like a massive nerd about this game. Nah, I'm actually a noob. I'm just a noob. I don't know much about this game, and I don't know much about most of the games I play, but I still play them and stream them and hope for the best. Your cat is like your child. That is fair enough. I would treat my cat the same if I had a cat. I treat my dog like that though when I see him. He's my family dog, so I only see him when I go home from uni. But he always remembers me. So, you know, that makes me happy. I actually posted a video on my Instagram about him today. I think it was today, yeah. He's a big floofball, but because he's a German Shepherd, you know, a lot of people get scared of him. Like, fair enough. He can be a bit scary. But he's mostly a floofball. Oh, full inventory. Let's go sell some stuff. My dog is a whippet. He's so speedy. Woo! I'm not. I'm scared of any dogs you've had. That's fair enough. I understand that as well. Especially if like some people have had bad experiences with dogs. Which makes me sad. But I always grew up with dogs, so I'm quite like accustomed to them and like I love them. And I mean, I was quite used to small dogs because my nan had small dogs like my whole life, and I basically lived with my nan growing up. So, oh, I found something. Ooh. Oh yeah, also in this game you can basically everyone's forgot their memories of like their life. So this is like these little things that come out when you like farm stuff and all that kind of help put together pieces of the past that they don't remember. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm just yapping. I'm not the best at explaining things. Every time you order food, the delivery drivers nearly run away because of my pocket bully barking, even though he wouldn't hurt a fly. Oh no, literally. I think we always have to like keep our German Shepherd in the living room when we get a delivery. So, because yeah, he definitely will try and gives them a big lick, and then they'll think that he's trying to topple them over, but he doesn't mean to. He just wants to kiss them and give them hugs. Because, like, if you don't know the dog, then obviously you're probably going to get scared. Especially, like, if he's, like, this giant dog running towards you, like, gonna jump up on you and lick your face. You know, obviously gonna get scared. Basically, every franchise that have a lot of merch based on it, such as Harry Potter, Marvel, Star Wars, Sonic, Minecraft, I probably like it. Do you like collecting merch? That's what I'm getting from that. If I had the money, I probably would like collecting merch as well. Thank you for redeeming your gold coin as well. Your first of many, I hope. I'm never scared of the dog, no matter how big, unless the person trained them to be vicious. No, I get that as well. It is very, like... Obviously, the dog plays a big part, but then the owner also plays a big part, and you just gotta know... Like, if you can tell the owner's a bit... not well handling the dog, then maybe be a bit cautious of the dog. Yeah, but by merch, I mean toys, because I'm childish. That's fair. If you enjoy that kind of merch, then go for it. I've never bought anybody's merch before. I have bought merch from like concerts, like artists and singers and stuff like that. I don't know if I've really bought game merch. I could be 50 and still buying Minecraft figures. No, same. I feel like I was thinking about this the other day actually. Like, will I always be playing video games? Like, is this something I'll always do? Or does it just kind of like fade out? Like, will I just be boring and not play video games? I don't know what I can't imagine not playing video games. I really can't. Me attacking people in GTA 6 and I'm an elderly person. I mean, no one has to know that you're an elderly person. How would they know? Nobody's gonna know.
How's it going?
I don't know if I need cocoa beans. I don't think I have many cocoa beans, so I'll keep that. That's only because GTA 6 will only release around that time. Oh yeah, it's taken a while to be released, isn't it? I don't really play GTA, so I don't know much, but I did see that it was like not released. Since you came out the womb. Damn, I thought it was gonna be released like soon. Didn't they talk about it being released, or am I totally wrong? Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't really know. Oh yeah, guys, this is my house, by the way. I don't know if I already showed it, but yeah, we've got like a little fireplace and seating area, and my scruffy kitchen that's like slowly building together, but nothing matches. This is my sad storage room. And this has been my bed. This is my bedroom. It's very purple because I love purple. They said 2025 sometime. Oh well, I hope so. You love being here. I'm so nice. Thank you. I try my best to make it a very welcoming environment. Yeah. This is my bed. Oh yeah, this radio plays like Disney songs, but my music is turned down actually. Anyways, I don't want the music too loud. Do I like Harry Potter? I do. I actually did start a Hogwarts Legacy playthrough.
Anita Maxwin.
Oh, Anita Maxwin.
Anita Maxwin.
Oh my gosh, that's such an old meme now. I forgot I had that. What house? Hogwarts Legacy. What house am I in? Ravenclaw. But yeah, what was I saying? I did start a Hogwarts Legacy playthrough, but I did a stream and then the VOD didn't download and then I couldn't upload it to YouTube. And then I was like, well, what's the point now? I'm gonna have to like redo the whole thing and everything, like, because basically I was doing it like episode by episode and then one episode didn't upload and then I was like, now it's not episode by episode, and it really annoyed me. So I stopped streaming it, but it's definitely on my list of games to play again, and I probably will start from the beginning again. I've literally started this game like 3 times because I'm such a perfectionist, but I can hear Remy, but I can't see him. Oh, there he is. That was scary. But yeah, what was I say? Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to redo it. PC will blow up as soon as I load GTA 6. So apparently it costs 150. What? What the? That's crazy. Well, but hopefully by then you'll get your new PC, right? Me and Alice is Wolfie. We're both in Ravenclaw, and fun fact, we're sisters, so it makes sense, guys. I love replaying games. I haven't ever replayed a game with it being my intention to replay it. I've just restarted Hogwarts like a million times because I have like 2 saves at the moment, and one of them's like my personal save that I won't restart, and then the second one's like my when I was streaming, but I'm gonna have to restart that because I lost a lot of footage. Oh my gosh, Nikki, hello! How are you doing? How was the rest of your stream? I was lurking for a bit, but I was also eating with my boyfriend before he went home. The only game I'd replay is The Last of Us. No, same. I actually want to redo it and like get some more of the achievements, but it also runs really slow on my laptop. Your backlog is too huge to justify you playing games. Oh god.
My friends, the trolls, would love you.
What am I up to right now? Okay, I got rice now. Is this rice? Oh, it is rice. Calm. I can make sushi now. I forgot that I was meant to put stuff in my chest and also probably make more chests. Stream was fine. I ended after 3 hours because I got tired. Oh my gosh, 3 hours? That is a crazy amount though. You deserve to rest. I'm just gonna move my chat. My chat bubbles, are they okay there? They're kind of like... Is that fine? I'm just gonna leave it there. You definitely deserve some rest. I'm a fiend for Xbox achievements. Oh yeah. Your longest stream ever was 9 hours? Oh my god. I think my longest was only 6 hours. Oh my god, there's so many chests. Oh, this is why I need the flowers, guys. No one tells me anything these days. I'm gonna need to get some iron to get... Oh, guys, I just wasted materials. Oh my god, I love getting Minecraft achievements, especially the dumb ones. Thanks for not being mean to me. I don't see why anyone would be mean. Bruce saying when I ended the stream, I just laid down and disassociated. Oh my gosh, I feel that. They're so easy to unlock, especially with Minecraft cheat worlds. Cheat worlds? What? I can make so much iron? Oh guys, we wasted materials. Oh, we're gonna be taking a little break. Ad break, guys. Grab some water, grab some snacks. Not much will happen, just me farming. Yeah, there's worlds people make with everything you need for all the achievements. Really? I don't play much Minecraft, so it makes sense why I didn't know that, but that's pretty cool. An easy way for sure to get those achievements. Up. Mushrooms. Iron's in my other chest. Yeah, I can imagine it depends how rested you are. Yeah. Oh, like by ending stream after a long stream? Yeah, I get you. Dang, I never knew I've been trying to complete them all naturally. Well, now you know, the more you know. Oh, the story about my coal, which is this, right? I had a stack of 99 and I accidentally sold it. You know the heartbreak I felt? I had no coal, like, at all. Not even in my other chests. Got to get on that 2-week Minecraft grind. Yeah, you do, Alice, but she also has exams at the moment. What am I doing? How much money do I have? We can go and just visit the store. There's just too many combos in this game. I can't keep track of what I need for what. Like, I need to make a list somehow. Okay, not that great looking outfit choices today. But this backpack is calling my name.
Hey! Thank you kindly.
I don't really like that.
Thank you kindly. Hello. Oh, thank you kindly.
Rip
Hello.
all of you doing exams. So glad I never have to do them again. Oh, I'm jealous. Oh my god, these are so cute. Let's get them. They're only 2,000.
Bye-bye
I
now.
have exams next month, so I don't know how my stream's gonna be. My stream schedule's gonna look like. Ah! This is pretty. The thing with the store is it resets every day, but it does bring back items. So, like, when you see an item, that's not going to be the last time you see it. Okay, we can do this quest now because I have rice. I can make sushi. I think. No, that's the wrong button. What am I looking for? Mills. Wait, actually, if I just talk to her, she'll tell me what I need. You'll need wheat, lemon, butter, and garlic. Oh. Oh my god, lobster rolls are so good. When I went to London for Valentine's Day, we had burger and lobster, right? And they have the most banging lobster rolls ever. Like, actually, I've never had lobster rolls before that day, so I can't really compare it, but they were banging! They were banging! Honestly, just stream when you feel like it. Forcing yourself gives you streaming fatigue. That's so true, because I feel like I did that, and then I got really tired, and then I had to take a long ass break. But now I'm just streaming today, even though like it wasn't scheduled. I'm streaming and I'm enjoying it. What do I need? I need to put rice, any kind of fish on rice. No octopus. Imagine I put octopus on there, just to piss her off. I think I have butter. I don't know. Oh, I do. Rice. Do I have fish? And any fish. So what's like a... Well, I have lots of this. So... I did it! Sushi! And then what was the other one? Do I have lobster? I have lobster. Do I have garlic? I have butter. Do I have garlic? I have garlic. And what was the last one? Wheat? Oh shit. I made the wrong thing, guys. Shit! What the fuck? I was scammed. Where is she? What must I do? Lobster roll. I need lobster, wheat, lemon. Oh, lemon. I missed the lemon. So we need wheat. We need lemon. We need butter. We need lobster. And garlic. Yeah, people tell me when the energy is off in the stream. That's why people tend to click off immediately. Yeah, exactly. I think like around the time before I had my break, my friend was telling me that I seem really tired and upset, and I was like, she kept asking me if I was okay and stuff, and I was like, I'm okay, but maybe I'm a bit tired. So then I took a break, and now I feel really refreshed, and like coming back the past 2-3 streams that I've done, a lot of people have actually stayed and been talking, and it's been lovely. It's been really lovely. I love how the whole tray goes in with the butter. Butter throws the plate. Yeah. And like this, oh, I can't show you, but this, yeah, this will go in with that tray, and this will go in with that tray. It's very funny. You know, when you bite into it, just a bit of plate in there. Oh, guys, look how banging that is! I want some. Hello. Hello, hello. Oh, it's you. Okay, what? I literally have it. Oh, bring it to Mother Gothel. My bad. They're both evil, you know. It's very easy to get them confused. Mother Gothel is, of course, in the Glade of Trust. There she is. Give.
Are you going to help or not?
They look so, like, good. Like,
Hello?
they look so much like they do from the movies and stuff. What took you so long? Oh my god. Give it back. Give it back. That's so rude. Oh. Okay. I get some weird ass looking flower, okay?
Good. Now you'll always know to listen to Mother.
Now I have to give it to... Oh, I have to give it to Ursa. Just as I suspected, this flower contained the power that comes from a dark place. I just might be able to use it for a little experiment I've been...
Yes.
Ursula, what experiment? What do you mean? We're besties, Ursula. We're on level 9 of friendship. Okay. Can I not progress with any other quests until I've done this? Because I really don't want to decorate right now. And I don't want to go to Eternity Isle yet. What's the next one? I need to unlock Moana. How do I unlock Moana? How do I unlock Molly? Booge McDuck. I need to go level up these people real quick. Sunlit Plateau. What's that? What that thing? I mean, I could unlock it. Wait. I love how it isn't even Ursula, it's Vanessa or whatever her name. Yeah, it's Vanessa. But like, technically Vanessa is Ursula, just as on land form. Where the fridge did Donald go? He's actually so speedy. What the frick?
This village smells.
Where did he?
Magic? Is that a thing?
Where did he go? So Donald is Scrooge's nephew, I believe. What is this music? Sounds like alien music. We made it. Okay, let's make friends with him. Then we can do a quest with him. Hey Kimmy, who do you think you are? I just heard you call me a blockhead. Huh? You are a blockhead? That's what even is that? I didn't say that. I called you a nincompoop? Wait, what? I don't want to be mean to Donald. Oh, okay. We've leveled him up. We got a cute little backpack. Oh. Okay, what do we want him to do? I only have Goofy for fishing. Maybe he could do fishing with me because he's a sailor and he's besties with Goofy. Let's ask him to hang out then. Let's hang out. Oh no, I didn't mean to press that. Fuck. Back. Ah! He didn't even come with me. Now I have to go trek. Oh. What? Okay. What's going on? Where'd he go? Now he's over there. What the frick is going on? Okay. Look how he runs. Oh, he's so funny. Look at him. He's so cute. I'd never call him a blockhead. He's actually so cute. Let's hang out. Let's do some fishing. Why not? Let's get our friendship level up with him and then we can do a quest and we can unlock the Sunlit Plateau or whatever it's called. Oh shoot, I suck at fishing. I actually suck at fishing. Yay! So before I had my break, I was like looking at a bunch of like stuff I could add for chat to do while I stream and stuff. And a lot of the stuff I want to add costs money. Like there's this fishing game, but it's like £6 I think on Steam. I wanted to get it because it looked cool, and when I joined like other people's streams and they had it, it was quite fun to play while like watching. Oh. But I don't know if I can invest money at the moment. There's also these like little cute widget goal widgets that I wanted to get, but like they're like £12. And I don't know if I can spare £12 right now.
Oh, you poor unfortunate soul.
But, you know, I don't really stream to earn, like, I don't stream to, like, have the purpose to earn anything. It's better than playing games on your own. That's the whole point, really. You know, if you earn like a little bit from it, if I earn a little bit from streaming, then that's nice. It is nice. But it isn't like a main goal at the moment for me. Like, I'm a full-time student. Like, I work part-time. Streaming is just something I do in my free time, and like something I enjoy doing. And like right now, my boyfriend went home to visit his family, and I would just be playing games on my own, which is sad, but I'm not. I'm playing games here with you guys, and it's so fun, and that's what streaming is to me. And meeting new people, and like so many new first-time chatters coming in today was just, that's what it's all about, guys. That's what it's all about. And I'm just yapping, I know. Ooh, I leveled up myself. I got a little like light. It looks like purple. I like purple. Yeah, obsession was so real. Yeah. Sometimes it just comes out of me.
There's a few more sleds around here.
He leveled up. We can do the quest now. I also get money from it. Okay. Give me that. Hello? Can I... Good to see you. Can I do a quest now? No. Oh, I need to unlock that place. Maybe before I do that, I can do some of the other quests that, like, don't require a different character and don't require a different biome. Like, this one just needs to get Remy to level 4. This one just needs to get him to level 8. And then Mickey's on level 6. So I can literally just do that right now. I'll do Remy's one right now. But I haven't really hung out with these other characters. Oh, Remy's right here. Okay. He's so small, I genuinely would not see him without them. Oh! I can't even talk to him, he's so small.
Hello. Ah.
Let's do some small talk with him. Goofy to table. What? Oh, that makes sense. It's worth it for the quality. Maybe you could work out a better deal with Mr. McDuck. Running a restaurant seems complicated. Maybe you could work out a better deal. But I'm just a restaurateur. What I know is food and people and...
Huh?
Oh, that is kind of true. Oh, we already got him to level 4, guys. See? Easy. Done deal. I just can't remember where they are. Forgetting things is a common problem. Mickey might remember where they are. I can help you with that later. Well, we're going to do it now. When you have the time, could you ask him if he's seen my recipe books? I think he has, because I remember when I first got here, Mickey would just talk about Remy all the time. Oh my god, my voice is going. What is happening? He hid them, but... Oh. Oh. Okay, I have to find it. Oh no. Oh man. Okay, so we're gonna have to turn his notes into... Oh. Use? Okay. Where is this? This middle one. What? Where is that? How do I see that? First book's location, second book's location. Where do I see it? Well, it's gonna be fun, guys. The first location was here. Yeah, I've already forgotten where it was. Was it over here? How do I see it? How do I... Oh my god, what is going on? Oh, it's here. Oh, by the bridge? Over there. Okay. Let's teleport. Okay. The only other bridge like thing is this one. Oh yeah, there's a little diggy up thing here. Now this last location, I have no idea where that is. Right.
Wonder where they harvest their ice.
Maybe it's in this. Oh, I don't know. It looks like it's in a cave. What cave? Okay, let's check on this. This is a cave, so I'm assuming it might be in here, but could be wrong. No way. I was right, because this is like the stove. I was right, guys. Oh my god. Yay. Alright. Oh, he's right here. I forgot he was, like, with us. Give him the books.
Yeah!
I haven't seen any peanuts in the valley. I bought a huge stash of them from Paris after forgetting. I can go back to Paris and get some peanuts. Oh, I can go back to Paris? Why don't I just stay in Paris? Jokes. Wait, actually. I have a few things to sell. I might just quickly sell that. Oh, I almost sold all my raspberries then. I would have actually cried. I've been collecting these raspberries for ages. Sorry. Okay, we're gonna go back to the castle. And this castle has all the realms, like where all the characters are from. So... Oh, I can just click on it. Oh, guys, I don't need to run in there. I can just click on it. Okay, now we need to find peanuts. There's a whole stash here. Only one? Right, where is he? Oh, he's right there. Perfect timing, Remy. Yay, I found the peanuts. Oh, I'm making the dish, am I? Cook the meal. Cook meals that contain peanuts. I only have one peanut though. What's happening? Peanut butter waffles. Okay. Why did it open this if it's not going to show you? Peanut butter sandwich. I don't have peanut butter, so I'm going to go back and get peanut butter. How do I do this again? Oh, yeah. And hey. Get more peanut butter? I mean peanuts? Can I get more peanuts here? Hey, what? Oh, am I gonna have to friggin' buy it from Remy's? Oh my. They trying to scam me. Wait.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I do. Okay. I thought he would give me peanuts. This is rude. This is so rude. 200! 200! Are you okay? Yeah, that's such an evil laugh from you, Remy, because you're scamming me right now. Actual joke. Big scam, Remy. Scamster, Remster. Oh, what am I saying? I'm just gonna shut up. Okay. One of them was... No. I meant to press wheat. And peanut butter. That's a huge ass bag going in there. The whole bag goes in there. Okay, peanut butter sandwich. And then the other one was the waffles. That's so cute. I want some waffles that look like Mickey Mouse.
Uh-huh.
Week special at the restaurant. Oh, yay. We did it, guys. We did it. Okay, to get on the quest from him, we need level 7. But, let's see what other quests we can do. Okay. This one, and there's 2 quests that need us to unlock the new biome. Let's do Mickey's one. Oh, hello, Gus Gus. Oh my gosh, how do I even say your name? Gus Aim Style. Oh, I butchered that. But hi, you found me on Twitter. That's crazy. Thank you for stopping by. It's good to see you. How have the games been? The games have been pretty chill. We're just chilling, doing some quests, and I'm quite new to this game, so I'm just getting the hang of it, really. Right now, I want to do Mickey's quest, but we need level 6. So I'm going to ask him to hang out with me and hopefully level him up. How are you, though? Okay, let's do some small talk because that also helps with leveling them up. Gosh, does your backpack get heavy with all the stuff that you keep in it? I don't have a backpack, but sure. It can get a little heavy. I can't believe how much you fit in there. Yo, Mickey! Just... Okay. Yeah, I do that, Mickey. You trying to mansplain it to me? Some folk around the valley have a bunch of different chests in different colours for all the different stuff they had. That is a good idea. I didn't know that I could even make coloured chests until literally today. Okay, what else can we do? Can I give him anything? Seaweed? I don't really have seaweed. Whatever. We can just hang out. We're already level 5. We need to be level 6. Oh, I didn't mean to press that. Please. Let me read. We're so close to level 6 and he does harvesting. So I swear if we just go up to this bush right now and... Yeah. Oh my gosh. Right. Well, that was easy. We got a new motif. I also made this bench, guys. Look how cute. It's like polka dots. Remember when we saw Minnie for a moment at the picnic? I've been thinking I might know why it happened and how to make it happen again. That's great. Minnie appeared when I was thinking about the picnic we used to have. I talked to Merlin and he says it's all about remembering her. So he enchanted Minnie's favorite bow. He calls it a memory magnet. So we hold the bow, remember her? It sounds far-fetched. Minnie's lost and alone. Do you really think she'll care about the bow? That's so mean. I'm going with the first one. Come on, let's try it together. I remember that Minnie loves wearing polka dots. That's why I put this polka dot bench outside. Let's see, what else does she love? Giggling. I don't know much about Minnie, I'm just guessing, but I guess I'm getting right. You know, you kind of remind me of her. Oh, Mickey. Once you even formed a club with Woody and Anna. Oh, I skipped by accident. Oh no, it's working. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna have to go around talking to everyone about Minnie and hope that... Oh, to Goofy and Scrooge. That makes sense, because they were the two that were here. Oh, I see. Do you see her? You can see her, like holographically walking around sometimes. Okay, we need to speak to Scrooge and Goofy. Right, here he is. I walked past him by accident. Right, shadows and bows. Do you remember Nikki? Nikki? I meant Mickey. Minnie. I can't speak, guys. Do you remember Minnie? What is your favorite memory of Minnie? Maybe this one. Top-notch taste. Okay, and now Goofy. Where is Goofy? Here he is. He's doing the fishing, of course. Of course he's fishing. Oh! Love when that happens. Tell me, do you miss Minnie? What's your favorite memory? Let's do favorite memory, because memory is what's gonna bring the power or whatever they were saying. Oh, they baked the pie together. Oh. Aww. That is so cute. Right. Okay, now we go back to Minnie. Oh, Mickey. Guys, I keep messing up their names. I hope Minnie's bow has enough memories to bring her back. Merlin said we can activate the memories for Dreamline. Let's go to the wishing well. Alright. Which one are we going to? Oh, in the town square. Okay. I've seen so many other people's valleys and they're just so beautiful. And I just don't even know how to get to that level. Oh! Oh, she's right there, guys. I'm blind. Oh my god! Is that really you? Where are you? I'm in an odd place with no collar. It feels familiar, but so strange. Please tell Mickey I'm safe. Is he there? I can't see. Mickey? Goodbye. Let them talk. Are you there? Are you okay? Aww. That's so cute. They want to come home. Yay. Mickey. Oh no. Come back. so sweet. He just misses his mini. Okay, we have the bow back. Now we're gonna talk to Merlin and hopefully figure it out. Okay, now we can unlock the other place because we need to get him level 8. I wanna get him to level 8. Come in. Hot dog. Okay, we haven't actually done anything in this. Look, there's like some thorns growing in this biome. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Do, do. Yeah, do, 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 do. No. So even though, like, you know, you can set specific characters to help with specific tasks, even if you don't do those tasks but you have them with you, they can still level up. It's just if you do those specific tasks that you give them, they can give you more of that specific item. But yeah, so when I like was trying to level up Ursula and stuff, I just take her with me and she'll level up, even if I'm not digging or whatever. The place I know I cannot go. What is wrong with me? Oh! I can't even get the other coin. This is a scam. Because I would have gotten a chest if I could get that. That's mean! Let me get it. Oh, I didn't see the notification, but we have an ad running, guys. Honestly, won't be missing much. I'm just harvesting things. Ever just the same. I have so much iron, I could actually make a bunch of chests now. I could color coordinate them, that would be cool. But I also saw some people put like a bit of the item on top of a table that's like next to the chest, and then that's how they organize. Or they do have signs that you can, I think, use as well. But honestly, that is for another day. I keep saying that. I actually procrastinating it. Wait. I don't want to talk. You got a chest in the end. A furniture pouch. A table. Amazing. Why are there 2 peppers here? This is that's not very useful. Okay, I don't want to sell too much because I don't quite. I think I need quite a bit of that stuff that's in my inventory. I'll put it in the house so I don't accidentally sell it. Okay. Okay, let's put some of this away. My inventories are so unorganized as well. I don't really want to think about sorting them out. Alright, let's put that away. Do I have any more clams so I can stack with? I just wish I could see all of the like chest open and then like organize it that way, but I have to run between each chest and everything. Ay, ay, ay. Like, I need to make a fish chest, a vegetable chest, a like mining chest. Just long. I'd rather do the quest right now. What was I gonna do? Okay.
Hi there, pal.
I'm gonna sell these blueberries because I don't eat them, and I'm gonna sell these because I have already loads, and I'm gonna sell these because they're quite common, and I don't really care about apple. Okay. Okay. I forgot what I was doing. Well, I need to level him up to level 8. Gardening. Oh man. Okay. It's fine actually. I have some things I can garden, like plant and stuff. It's in my chest, so let me grab that.
I need to talk to you.
Oh, I'm busy, Scrooge. Not in here. Do some gardening, guys. Okay, how many do I have? 2, 4, 6. Oh my god. What the fuck? That scared me, CP. Yeah. Why was it so loud? What the heck? Get wrecked, wow. That's so nice of you. Are you at home now then? You don't control my volume, that's very true. It's my own fault. Yeah, boy. Yay, now you can watch my stream. I don't have any seaweed. What am I doing? I'm trying to level up Mickey. He gets leveled up by farming. Like harvesting stuff. Gardening, even. I completed quite a few quests today. And just been foraging and collecting things. In my head, I'm like thinking about how I'm gonna sort my storage room. I think I need to sort my storage room before I think about decorating, because I need to make sure I have all the right materials to create the things I want to add to my valley.
It's time.
Because obviously you can like buy stuff, but like I want to also make some of this cool stuff I saw. But there's a new Star Pass coming soon. I don't know when it is. Oh yeah. It's changing soon, in 16 hours? Tomorrow? The new Star Pass is coming tomorrow? I didn't do this one because I was like, I won't have time to complete all of it, and I want to complete it all. Now I feel like I should have, because look at some of these items. I really like this. It's fine. It's fine, guys. I don't know. I haven't really kept up on Twitter or like anything about what the new Star Path is going to be. But I will be doing it. So that will be something to do during the stream. Oh. Also, I found out that I can make my own chest colored by using flowers. Makes sense. Why is there... Was this floating rock always here? I don't remember seeing that before. Okay. Why is he not leveling up? Please. We just have to do a bunch of this and then hope he levels up so that we can, you know, do the rest of this quest. Because look, Minnie is right there. I want Minnie to come. I like Minnie. Do, 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 do. Okay. Oh yeah, I need to eat. Oh yeah, okay. Oh. So I've learned that 6 raspberries fill up your health bar. That's why I always like to keep my raspberries. There's always an abundance of raspberries, and you will always get full health from them. Also, this whole area, all these bushes. Why are there so many bushes? I literally don't want to do any decorating until I have unlocked all the biomes. I don't know why, but my brain is just stuck to that. I always eat raspberries in Lego Fortnite to restore health too. Yeah, oh my gosh, same. Why is it always raspberries? Do raspberries do that in real life? Raspberries on 2? On top. Yeah, I knew you meant that. I'm gonna go on Fortnite after this, Sleepy. Are you gonna join me, Sleepy? Wow. I would stream Fortnite, but it always friggin' lags and I just can't be arsed with it. It really demotivates me. Whenever I sell stuff, I'm just like, I hope I won't need that because I sold it now. I haven't done much anything on Dazzle Beach yet. Let's go Dazzle Beach and collect some stuff. Do, 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 do. So when I was doing the Ursula quest, oh my god, I had to collect like a bunch of clams and they just were not spawning. They just were not spawning. It took me so long just to collect one clam. You can tell I've not been on the beach today though because there's these things. I know I'm like really early on in playing this game, but I don't know what I would actually do if I finished the game. I'd be very sad. Yippee! And also, getting rid of these really help with leveling up your cat, like your pal. And gardening. We need to make sure we go back and do our gardening because that will also help level him up. I just want to complete all the quests that, you know, don't need new biome. But if after we do this section of the quest he still needs like leveling up and stuff, I might just save F it and unlock the new biome because I'm kind of excited to see what a new biome might look like. Because I don't think I've seen the new, like the, what's it called? This sunlit plateau, whatever. Yeah, that thing. I haven't seen what it looks like yet. Like when I've seen other people play it, I have not seen them go there. Or maybe I did, I just didn't know it was that place. But still, you get what I mean. Ah! My god. Yeah, I'm very excited about my TikTok live special, guys. I should have had it up on the stream. Wait, I'm so silly. I know it's nearly the end of the stream, but like we can add it. Oh my god, why is it so big? Make sure you be there or be square. Actually, no. Maybe we won't keep it up because people might get confused. I'm actually so indecisive. It's gonna be fun though. I have a lot of challenges in store and goals that are quite, I think, quite reasonable to reach. B squared. B squared. I don't want to think about doing maths. Oh yeah, I also haven't been on this raft yet. I was meant to go on there. I don't want to progress too fast. You know, I'm holding out a little bit because I don't want to speed through it. I feel like there's no right or wrong way to play this game. Like, it really depends on how you want to play it, and that's what I like about it. If at least by the end of stream we can have him leveled up to level 6. I don't even know what level he's... Oh, I always press that button instead of this button. What is he on? He's level... I meant level 8, guys. I meant level 8. I was gonna be like, I'm only level 6. What? No, level 8, guys. If we get him to level 8 at least by the end of stream, the next stream we can get... Oh, I didn't mean to go in here. We can get Mini. How exciting! No! Oh my god! I can't pick up the things I want to pick up because this door is like... No, excuse me! I'm stuck! I can't! No! What is going on? I can't... Right, whatever. I can't pick that stuff up because it's just gonna make me go inside. Hello? Can I not get rid of it? Ah! Never mind. Get me out of here. I'm not gonna do that one. Bananas. Yes! We leveled him up to level 7 now. Oh, we got 1k coins. And when we level him up to level 8, we get a bed. How cool. That noise is Donald, by the way. He makes the weirdest noises. So whenever I put this dress on her, I always want to like take her shoes off so she has like a little Rapunzel moment. I think I'm going to change her outfit a bit. What the? Oh my god, this is cute. I like the green vibes. Green ankle socks. And our new shoes. They look like bowling shoes. Why do they make her feet look so small? And then actually, I need to put my glasses back on because I wear glasses. Put our Mirabelle glasses on.
Hey, I've got a job for you.
Oh, I'm busy, Scrooge. Every time I walk past him, he's always like, hey, I have a job for you. And I'm like, I'm busy. I tried to make my character look as much as possible like me, but I in fact don't have long hair. Like my hair literally goes up to my shoulders at the moment. But the like brown on the top and like red at the bottom is true. I dyed my hair red last year and then I let it grow out and I haven't re-dyed it. So that's why I put her hair like that. It looks very nice on her. On me though, it looks like I haven't dyed my hair, which is the truth. On my PNG tuber though, I just put my brown hair. I really like my PNG tuber, so cute. Oh, nice. Right, let's put some clams away, put these away. Actually, hold on. Yeah, we already have a stack here. Put them here. This is why I feel like I need to have like a bit of organization. It's gonna annoy me now. I'm gonna have to do some organization right now. Put all like veg and stuff in here. And then we'll put some well, my other place is more of like the fish place. Let's put like these like bits and bobs in here, like this. I don't know what it's called. Okay. Definitely need to make more chests though before I move this big chest. I have so much fish. There's so much going on here. My gems I will put in another chest. Oh my god. This is hurting my brain looking at this right now. Oh my god, okay. This is like ingredient stuff. I don't think these need to be in here actually. These can be like gems. Oh. Yeah, I have loads of those. Oh no, those aren't the same. These can be my gems in here. Not the apple. I have more gems than I thought I did. Kind of color coordinate them in a way. And then purple. Okay, that's a bit more organized. So that's food. Okay. Not bad, guys. Not bad. For some reason I'm keeping the fish in my bedroom though. I can't really be bothered to change that right now. All the fish related stuff can... Oh no, it doesn't fit. Okay. Let's just put all of these miscellaneous stuff in the main chest because I really don't know where I'm meant to put it. Okay, right, put it by type. There we go. And that's a little bit more organized now, I'd say. Yeah, okay. Then we can sort it by type. It's all organized. Why is wheat in there? Hold on. I'm not meant to be there. I think what my house needs is a good old rug. Okay. I think I'm gonna end the stream here. We've had a very successful stream. We got a lot of quests done and we had a lot of new friends, newcomers, and just a really fun stream. I'm really glad I did it. And don't forget that on Thursday, the 27th, this Thursday, I will be doing a TikTok live special where we will be following these incentives and I will have to do the challenges. Thank you everyone who was watching and who commented, and for the Prime subs. I really appreciate it all. I think we're gonna raid somebody. I've been trying to do that more often. So let me just set that up, and then we will, of course, say our goodbyes. Okay. Let me just set this up real quick. I think we're gonna raid one of our girlies. Oh, I can't raid her. Oh. Okay. We can't raid her. I don't know who these other people are. Oh wait, we can. I've done it. I figured it out. Okay guys, let's go raid Natty. She's one of the girls that I play Lethal Company with sometimes, and she's really amazing and fun, and she's doing like a Nancy Drew game. It looks very cool. So be sure to stick around for that and go and say hi and send her love. Alright, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye.
Do you think it went missing around the time?